Coming up on That's a Great Point. Not exactly easy, but it's the most valuable resource. That's community.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like most people lean towards, oh, I have to have money to be able to do all those things. And that's simply just not the truth. If we have community, good God, there's
Well,
so much more available and possible to us once we have community.
I feel like let's talk about resources that don't require money because another thing is movement. Just get up and move your ass, move some energy. That will change so
Mhm.
much.
Oh my goodness. I
A
love
pen
it.
and a paper. I mean, okay, so I guess a pen and paper costs some money, but to just sit and just write it out,
Listen to music,
a hundred
right?
percent
Go
listen to music.
dance. Have a little solo dance party if you're solo,
Yeah.
right? It's there's a quote and I believe it's attributed to Teddy Roosevelt. Do what you can with what you have where you are.
Hey, everybody. Today's episode, we are all over the place. We're talking about how when the play goes away, life kind of sucks. How to know when you're taking adulting a little bit too seriously. How to bring that joy back into your life. We're talking about what happens when you get overwhelmed and you get stuck in the swirl, how you can get yourself out of that. We're talking about pulling on resources that aren't just money. We are talking about taking shit and spreading it all over the place on accident. We are talking about the origins of the heart emoji and much, much more. Like I said, we are all over the place in this particular episode. I really, you enjoy playing along. I hope you enjoy playing along with us. It is a wild ride. Welcome to That's a Great Point, the attitude adjustment for your soul, where co-hosts Alina Doran, Michelle Aalbers, and Lee Smart discuss deep topics around a life well lived. Let's start the show. Time to collapse.
You're like, stop laughing. Stop. Joy is over. Okay, that reminds me. Me? Really? You
Yeah.
know what I always say? Oh my God, yeah, totally. Uh, Only a real friend will tell you when you have spinach, or in my case, buckwheat between your teeth. So I have to tell you a really quick story that just reminded me, because you said it as a joke. You know how you said, right, we're recording, like pressure's on, like no more laughing. So the building that I live in has a board. I'm on the board.
Mm-hmm.
Last week we had meet the board night,
Mm-hmm.
which involved a long table with seats horizontally aligned with us, the board members sitting there, right? And and then as we're sitting there, the board is sitting there. And on the other side of the board, across from us, are all the tenants, the shareholders who chose to attend the meeting
Okay.
and talk to us and meet us. So grievances come up, right? Naturally, people bring up grievances. There starts a thread of grievances that involve laughing, joyful children and why are they making noise?
Mm.
So in my building downstairs, you saw there's a playground, right? There's a playground on premises. There were complaints from multiple shareholders that at 3 o'clock during the week, there's sounds of joyful children just messing it up for the adults. Can
Uh,
we, as a board, do anything to stop it? Stop the children.
I'm
And
assuming you mean 3 p.m., not 3 a.m., right?
did I say 3 a.m.?
You didn't say either.
I meant 3 p.m. That's correct.
Yeah.
3 in the afternoon during the week, noises come, when children are let out of school
Yeah,
and
yeah,
want
yeah.
to live a little. Yeah. So, yeah. So afterwards, the meeting's over. And I mean, the answer was no, we will not come to families and say, please stop your children from being joyful. You know, um, Afterwards, as everybody was leaving, one of the fellow shareholders, who's a friend, happens to be a doctor, comes up and she's like, can we just kill all the children so they stop making noise? Could we just have just no more living children here because they make noise? And then the joke that I had that we're still going with is like joy makes my skin crawl. So I want tears or silence from your children. Tears or silence. So it's amazing. Yeah. So yeah, pressure's on, no more joy.
I had a conversation with my son yesterday, and hi, Michelle, welcome.
Morning. Sorry, I'm
Hi,
late.
Michelle.
Good morning.
There was a point in school yesterday where he was excluded from some activities,
Mm,
and it was like a click thing was happening, and they wouldn't let anybody else play, and he was kind of upset about it. So I brought up the point, like, okay, if it's not about you, if it's actually about what's going on with them, and why would they make such thing? Why would they do that if they thought they were doing the right thing? So get on their side, like start to think about what it is they may have going on their side. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, they just wanted to hog all the glory for themselves, and they wanted to win the game for themselves. They didn't want anybody else to share in that." Uh,
mm,
so yeah, man. So we talked about it a little bit further, but it was enough to get him to. He was pretty upset, but he was completely relaxed after. He's like, "Oh, wait, yeah, yeah, I get it now. Cool.
right.
It's actually not about me. It's about them. It's about what's going on the other side." And that sounds like what you're talking about right now too. Those people like, no, we have to shut the children up. Hmm.
Yep.
What on earth had to happen in those people's lives for them to be so fucking miserable?
To have that much anger at,
Yeah.
at, at the joy of children post elementary school, like post school day. Um, yeah. Isn't that what it is so often? Hurt and insults and exclusion is just a reflection of what's happening inside the perpetrator.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that, Michelle?
Uh, yeah, I think people look for things to deflect anything to avoid what they got going on the inside, if what's going on the inside is painful.
Yeah. They are three ruled in favor unanimously.
Uh-huh.
Done.
I
Yeah.
It's so true.
I'm
mean, I used to teach preschool. I get it. Sometimes kids are loud.
mm. Yeah, well, the more off balance I am, the more sensitive I am to loud noises and screaming and all that. So that if I'm starting to notice that my kids being noisy is really just grating on me,
Mhm.
instead of trying to, well, I do tell them to go outside, but also take a look at me and go, what have I been up to that's got me so off kilter?
Yeah.
It's usually because I'm stressed out over something, low energy, uh, took on too much, didn't spend
Right.
enough time sleeping, you know, on and
Mhm.
on. Hmm. So we started off a little bit with pressure too, right before Michelle hopped in, and something funny happened to me in that I've been doing these voiceovers for myself on my articles, and then all of a sudden I've had somebody reach out to me, want me to do voiceovers for them for pay. And I started to do one yesterday, and now all of a sudden that there's all this pay on the line, I was so freaking self-conscious about what I was recording. It's like, um, so I was literally choking myself up because like, oh, I'm gonna get it right. And I was just, it was choking me up. So I had to go and get a workout in and loosen myself and then come back and try again. And it was still terrible. And finally this morning, I was like, you know what? How would I go about this if I didn't give a shit? Like if
Mm.
it wasn't that important, if I wasn't trying to get it right. And I came in super relaxed this morning and bam, 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 no problem. It just knocked them all out. And I've been trying for, I don't know, 3, 4 hours yesterday, to get it all knocked out. So,
That's so cool. I love that reset.
hmm
Performance anxiety, all that
hmm
pressure. I
hmm
will withhold, I will withhold jokes.
I was waiting for it.
I wish Tanya was here joining us because then we could do something even like real fun with it. But
Right.
it's true, right? If you put all this pressure on and it's like, but wait, you've done this so many times. Like you have your voice all these years.
Mhm.
It's a good voice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I need to
Perform.
make sure I show up and I perform the right way. I'm gonna do it
Right.
really, really well. I'm gonna make sure we get it perfect. And then all of a sudden we have ED, and just can't perform.
I was just going to say, sweet perfectionism, my friend. Hello again.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that perfectionism gets in the way of, oh,
I feel like what I've learned over time, and I forget it all the time, which I also find comical, is that if I get rid of the vision that I think is perfect, often it ends up even better than what I was thinking was perfect. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's like, oh, I was super limiting myself in what I thought was perfect because it actually turned I like it better this way than I would have than what I was dreaming about before.
Mm.
yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
really great point because that shows up in making music or
Mm,
videos or anytime we're in the creative act. If we have a certain set of constraints we put on ourselves in advance, even if it's like creating a website or marketing material or whatever it is, I'm going to constrain myself. And then all of a sudden, now we're in a box and don't think outside of that box. And then everything starts to shut down from that point because it limits the creative act and
yeah.
puts pressure and then end up in a full on freeze state. Can't tell you how many times I've done that, sit behind this computer and stare at my screen. All right, have to do some work
That's it.
and then nothing happens.
It's like ready, like 3, 2, 1, be creative. Go. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds very familiar. Very familiar. So how do we get unstuck? You just talked about a great dislodging. I like to call it dislodging because I keep
Mhm.
thinking of like a glass with crud stuck on the inside and you have to like shake it up. Like just like a little gentle rinse isn't enough. You have to like disorient it. So it sounds like for you it was working out.
Is that where you're going with that? I kind of expected you to say something around unclenching.
That's exactly where I was going. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I said like clenching so tight you could almost make diamonds. Um,
Hmm,
yeah, well,
this is a fun visual.
right? Yeah. I've said that to a client. Like you're about to start making diamonds. Clenching so hard, I don't know. I don't know how you can get anything else done. It's like a diamond factory. Um, yeah. Yeah, but when you clench so hard, you're spending energy on what you don't want to spend energy on, and you're holding on. Let's use
Yes.
knuckles. Let's use knuckles. That's like a G-rated part of the body. You're holding on so tight. Your knuckles are turning white. What are you holding on to so tight? And what is it costing you?
Dang, you should write a poem about that.
What's that?
You just rhymed 3 words in a row. I feel like you're writing poetry this morning.
Wait, what did I say? I have to listen
You
to the
said, why are your knuckles so white? You're clenching so tight.
right.
Something about right.
I really need to be right. Ooh,
I don't know.
Mama might make a haiku.
Oh, I bust a rhyme. I do it all the time.
I'm a poet and I didn't even know it.
You mentioned a client story. I just remembered one. I was helping a client with building his offer, his package, what he was going to go out into the world and try and sell so he can have a business that made him money. And after a few weeks of, well, this, well, that, well, this, and trying to get it perfect, we were in a deep conversation around it. And I was like, all right, what does perfect look like? And his eyes opened up wide as can be. And he realized that perfect was different depending on who he sold the package to. And he was never going to make the perfect package. So he was literally standing in his own way trying to make a perfect package whenever he realized it needed to change based on who received it. Oh, and so it's like we all have different tastes. We all have, well, I see Lena. Go ahead.
I think
Go,
she's in the same
go
place
ahead.
I was. I couldn't get out of it.
Yeah.
Little,
I said something about receiving a
he
perfect
said,
package, didn't I?
You said package like 100 times in a row. I'm like, dude,
yes,
you can't keep saying
you
package.
can't talk about ED, perfect package, and then receiving said package. I don't know how many innuendos I can hear without cracking.
Yeah, I knew exactly where you were going because I was like, if you say package one more time, I'm gonna have to stop you.
His offering.
Oh yeah.
Now that's not better. It would have been
Now,
if you would have switched right
now
out of the
like
gate, but now.
now anything will be, yeah. Yeah.
Oh
You were
God.
teaching him how to get others to take his packaging.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's a problem for guys who, whenever they only commit to one woman, they just don't
What's
know
the
how to,
problem with that? What is the problem with that?
they're
Do
not
tell.
sure how to deliver their package to a vast audience.
A vast audience. What's this?
All right,
What,
that was a bad joke. I'm
oh.
gonna just I'm gonna turn the other way. It didn't go the way I was planning. That didn't come out the way I thought it was gonna come out whenever it was in my head.
Nope. Nope.
Oh, that was needed. I'm gonna stare at my red stapler.
Oh, it goes with your nails. It's so pretty.
Do you know what the reference is?
Yeah.
If you've seen Office Space.
If they move my table one more time, I'm going to set the
Excuse
building
me,
on
I did
fire.
not receive its life. Yeah, that was,
We-
I used to say to my team, that was mandatory viewing.
mm-hmm.
That you need to go and watch, and we need like, do we have any TPS reports that we're making? Because that was always the joke, like the unnecessary reports that nobody knew what they're for, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody knew that they need to make them because that's how we've always done things.
Mm-hmm.
Did you lay a jump to conclusions mat on the floor?
What's that?
Did you lay a jump to conclusions mat on the floor?
Oh, I like that's so cute. I didn't. I should have. Totally would have. It rhymed again. But yeah, yeah, like all the reports that you don't need, all the things that we assume we need to do because they've always been done. And I was the anti-TPS person. I'd like walk in like, no, no one's getting TPS reports anymore.
If we're gonna go with that movie, I was the neighbor. And we went to his house. Said, hey, you need a bottle opener for that beer? Nah, man. I got that. Pulled his keychain out, had the bottle opener right there in his pocket. That's me.
I have to go back and watch and see the
Yeah, yeah,
need.
yeah. I got the redneck in me deep.
I'm like, you could totally impersonate the neighbor easily. Like you could get the voice down exact.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, man. Man, I think, yeah, you get your ass whooped for something like that.
We should do a skit.
What do you mean a case of the Mondays? No, man. I think you get your ass whooped for something like that. Oh,
Something like that.
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Where are we going today? We can kind of
Well, I'm
bullshitting,
looking,
but
well, we're, hey, life. Life is, it's just life. I think when we talk about pressure, performance anxiety, I'm gonna try to keep a straight face. Attachment, right? You have the words written behind you. Attachment to control. I'm reading them now.
no,
I think we're meant to discuss this. That's it.
there you go.
Attachment to control. I'm reading the board behind Lee. Keeps you feeling unsafe when chaos inevitably rears its head.
Ah, you can read hieroglyphics. That's impressive.
It's very true.
Attachment to control keeps you feeling unsafe when chaos inevitably rears its head.
It's funny that the word attachment is there because we talked about that a shit ton this weekend.
That's
Oh,
oh yes. Tell
And
us about your weekend.
dukkha, which is suffering. And attachment creates dukkha.
say it again. Creates what?
Dukkha, suffering.
Oh, is this a Thai word?
It's a Pishet, it's a Buddhism. It might be, dukkha might actually be Sanskrit. I'm not sure.
Mm,
But
okay, it's
Pishet used
older
to talk
than
about it all the time. Pishet used to talk about it all the time. He would talk about the helicopter mind, too much thinking, helicopter mind, too much thinking, headache, dukkha. And then he would talk about the backpack. And then go to 7-Eleven, no have, headache, backpack, heavy, too much thinking, attachment, dukkha. And he would just go on and on. But he would talk about how like our thinking and our desires and our attachments create suffering. And then it's like, and so this weekend we talked a lot about, because there was just a lot of, it just came up in the conversations about attachment and how
Mhm.
we're really attached to certain outcomes, or really attached to that perfect idea, or really attached to, pick your thing, and how it can suck. Like life can suck. Life will suck. Life does have dukkha. Life is suffering and pain. And you can choose to like sit there, or you can also like take that pain and enjoy the funny memory of that pain, or see the joy and the things. Like it exists, it can exist together, but your attachment to it creates more pain.
There's a
I
big
have
old box here. What you got, Elena?
I have a terrible, terrible analogy that's said in Russian. It is awful. It's so bad,
Let's go.
Say it in Russian first.
right? It's I mean, even though I am from Ukraine, these were the days when we were taught Russian. So that was our first language. Ukrainian was our second language. And the saying was, and it's going to be a difficult translation, but it's like when you're trying to clean up turds and you just start smearing it, and now you have shit everywhere instead of just the place where the original turd was. So you're making the whole thing dirty, right? Like the whole thing is
Well, let
besoggy
me give
because
it to us in Russian.
ты говно разводькиваешь. Вот была какашка, осталось все разводькиваешь. А теперь оно
Mm,
везде. So it's like you're just smearing it everywhere. Now the surface area is huge. It's just covered with shit
mm,
everywhere. Because now you didn't just take the suffering. I think if we take that analogy, you didn't like suffering happens, it's included in the human experience. We can experience it, and then we have these choices. One of them is to smear the shit and make the surface area totally covered with shit. And what do we do to do that? We can like attach to it. We can attach even more meaning to it. We can keep dwelling on it. We can keep self-victimizing, right? Like, oh, this always happens to me. And then you create this whole like narrative where you add another chapter to the narrative that surely you already had going. Like, this always happens to me.
mm. We,
Always me.
we
And
mentioned
that,
that earlier that taking it personally.
yeah, it's about me,
Hmm.
right? That's
Victimhood is so fun.
right. And then you detail that
You're
story. Well, you just
you're
bitch. You just complain the whole time. Just
you're
complain. Like get those neural pathways nice and hard so that you make a new one. And then that one is bad things always happen to me.
Your quote reminded me of this was a while ago, but there was a chunk of time there where there were a lot of like Instagram videos of Roombas after a dog or a cat had made an accident on the floor, and then the Roomba just smears it everywhere. It's like the Roomba is supposed to be this great, useful tool, but not when your dog shits on the floor when you're at work and the Roomba's set to go off. Then there's just shit everywhere.
I like that. In life, don't be a Roomba to the shit in your life.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Don't be a Roomba to the
I feel like
shit.
there's a lot of ways you could take that, because a Roomba can be a useful tool to help you clean
Right.
stuff up.
Yeah.
But
Or
if
it,
you use it incorrectly or at the wrong time, it's not helpful. It just makes it worse.
that's right. That's right. You're just
Mhm.
taking the surface area and covering more of it. Yeah. Like how to make it
That's like such a great, like if you're working with the wrong coach, like just for example, right? Like, so the pile of shit is kind of your stuff and it's
yeah.
all condensed in this neat little pile that would be kind of easy to clean up. But if you work with the wrong person, they just like blow it up and smear it everywhere. Then how much time does it take you to clean that up and come back
Mhm.
to like homeostasis, you know?
What's happened for me when working not with the right person is it didn't necessarily spread. What happened was it festered. It wasn't getting addressed. And so it just kept making everything worse while staying in place and
Mhm.
kind of taking my whole view and skewing it because now it really felt like it was so much bigger,
Yes, exactly.
right? Or
Exactly.
taking your privilege and making it sound like everyone has it, like no big deal. Like just get yourself together.
Mhm.
But I did. Look at me.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, when Sheryl Sandberg started talking about leaning in, Sheryl Sandberg was the COO of Facebook for
Okay.
years. And I mean, she's done a lot of wonderful things in the world too. So don't ever take away from that. But she talked about how even though she was the chief operating officer of Facebook, she would get home to her kids and have like dinner with them at 5 o'clock and all this stuff. And people got really upset hearing her talk about this, like, just do it. It's great. Like I did it. I'm like, well, hold on. You had a childcare like center created for you. You had an army of nannies. You had unbelievable financial resources that are we only hear about. We don't even know what that's like. You've got like a chef at home that makes you the dinner that you said you sit down to. You've got a chauffeur. You've got access to resources that we can't imagine. So here you are telling us that we just need to like reimagine it. You can do it too. Just lean in. It's going to be great. So there was a lot of revolt. A lot of working mothers felt resentful that that was
Mhm.
being suggested because that's not reality for so many. It's a rarefied air to have that kind of support. And
Mhm.
who gets to go home and be there for their children at 5 o'clock when you have a chief operating officer position for something that much in the spotlight and something like Facebook? Yeah. Mm, mm. Toxic positivity.
Yeah, you just reminded me of something I said in the very beginning. When I was, I have that quote. I'm gonna say the quote out loud. It's if you are sprinting all the time, it's going to eventually fall apart. For your thing to be resilient, you have to say no to a lot of things so you can have space. And makes it very, very, very difficult whenever uh we don't naturally already have those resources at hand. But then a lot of people get stuck on, I don't have those resources. Oops. Instead of, okay, what resources do I need to go get so I can make this happen? It's, oh, I just don't have those resources.
I love that you mentioned it because that's the other side. One side is toxic positivity
Hmm.
and like pretending that it's easy.
Hmm.
And then the other side is throwing up
Oh,
your
poor
hands.
pitiful me. I don't
Right.
have those resources.
Right. Easy for them to say, right,
Hmm.
right. Instead of looking at, well, hold on, like what's actually possible? What
Yeah.
can I play with?
It's like, what resources do I need to make this real?
Mhm.
Let's go get those motherfuckers and make this shit happen.
And I think that's such an important point as far as resources, like what are they? To have an awareness around that and put some intention around actually seeking what you do have and what you might need to seek out,
Mm.
but do it when you're not in a place where you need all the resources. Like if you can do it at a time, because if you're trying to find resources when your stress level is at a 10 out of 10, good fucking luck. It's not
Yep.
going to happen. But if you can look for them when you're at a 3,
Yep.
Mm,
it's just more, you can find
Well,
them. But also, what works for you when you're at a stress level 6 is very different than when you're at a stress level 10. Stress
mm,
level 10 might just be like, freaking make your exhales longer than your inhales and see if you can sit for a moment.
yeah.
I
I
love
think,
that you say that.
yeah, and I think possibly the most important resource that you can create that's not exactly easy, but it's the most valuable resource, that's community.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like most people lean towards, oh, I have to have money to be able to do all those things. And that's simply just not the truth. If we have community, good God, there's
Well,
so
and
much more available and possible to us once we have community.
I feel like let's talk about resources that don't require money because another thing is movement. Just get up and move your ass, move some energy. That will change so
Mm,
much.
Oh my goodness. I
A
love
pen
it.
and a paper. I mean, okay, so I guess a pen and paper costs some money, but to just sit and just write it out, there's so
Yeah.
many things we can do that are go for a walk in nature, call a friend, go do spend some time in that community that you just found that you're still sussing out.
Listen to music,
A hundred
right?
percent
Go
listen to music.
dance. Have a little solo dance party if you're solo,
yeah.
right? It's there's a quote and I believe it's attributed to Teddy Roosevelt. Do what you can with what you have where you are.
Yeah. And I'm a super sensory human. Like I need, like if I just have a soft, cozy blanket, that can take me down 2 ticks just right out of the gate, and a candle or something that smells nice. Anything sensory will just like calm me down. I just need to
Hmm.
feel like I'm wrapped in something soft and cuddly.
Hmm. That's the exact opposite for me. Anytime somebody puts a scented candle on, I want to it it
Oh,
shuts
it
me
can't be any
down.
candle. It has to
Yeah.
be a scent that reminds me of something or that brings me to a
Hmm.
place. Like incense takes me to Thailand. Certain candle
Oh,
smells take me to nature.
Gotcha.
Sometimes it's
yeah.
not even a scented candle. I just want the fire.
You
So I
know,
like
they
fire.
all want to they all make me want to choke.
Oh, thank you for bringing it up. Oh, too much. I just put some essential oil
Gee whiz, I can smell that
inside
from over here.
of my wrist,
What
right?
flavors you got going on over there? What you cooking?
This is eucalyptus.
Mm, good for the lungs.
Whoa. Yeah, that changes your perspective. That's right. Smell something different.
Yeah.
Just inhale a scent. That's it. That does it. Just happened to be live. So true. It's true. Change of temperature, like an icy drink, paying attention to the senses, right? That's
Yeah.
that's a big one. I like that we're listing all the things that cost nothing or
Mhm.
minimal
Mhm.
in monetary cost.
I'm
And read a book is a
reminded,
big one,
yeah, I'm
but not
reminded
if
of
I'm out of town.
a daily planning practice. So one time I was on the Bayou kayaking with Tanya, and uh 15 minutes in, all of a sudden my head started to swirl about all the responsibilities I left back at home that needed to be taken care of. But because I had started a daily planning practice a few months before, that swirl immediately stopped when I thought, "Oh, my planning practice is going to take care of this." And as soon as that happened, it's like, "Oh, my planning practice is set in place and I know I'm using it well and it's going to capture whatever I need to capture. I can let that go." I let it go, and then all of a sudden I was there on the bayou cracking jokes with Tanya. It was a whole different mindset, just boom, instantly.
That
So,
is such a strong point about having a foundation so that you can have fluidity and creativity and play.
mhm.
Because if you didn't have that foundation, you would have spent the whole time swirling. But because you had
Yep.
a foundation and a structure that worked for you, you could actually let go and play.
Mhm.
That's
You
so
call it a
cool.
foundation. I call it a system. We have to have our systems that work for us. Because to rely on memory is to make sure that we're going to set ourselves up for failure.
That's interesting. I think about tools, just
Mhm.
awareness that you have tools available to you.
Yeah.
Like visualization is one I'm thinking about when you talk about a swirl.
Mhm.
I'm recalling a time I had a very big swirl happen in the middle of a conversation with a general contractor when I was in the middle of renovating my place. And there were so many decisions that needed to be made all at once. And like my kids, like school nurse was calling at the same time. And then somebody else needed me at the same time. And then I had a meeting coming up for work shortly. So everything felt compressed and it felt right now and it all felt urgent. And I went into the swirl and almost like a freeze state, couldn't make a decision. Very overwhelming. And in that moment, I decided I was going to do three things at the same time. And it took me less than 60 seconds and I did it in front of my contractor. I visualized, I did like a quick tapping of palms and chest, which totally calmed me down, and like a 10-second gratitude prayer.
Hmm.
Not even 60 seconds. I came back to him in 30 seconds. I did it in front of him. Came back and opened my eyes back up and just started going calmly, one by one, making decisions with him. Like, here's what we're going to do. Decision one, here, tile, this, electrician work, there. This is what we're doing. And he said, and he still reminds me about it like a year later. He's like, how did you do that? That happened. He's like, what did you just do?
Mhm.
Like, you
What
came back.
about breathing? What were you doing with your breath in the moment?
That's the other one I was doing. I was breathing. The visualization came with the breathing.
Mm.
So I visualized a golden light dropping into my body through the top of the head and filling me up with this beautiful, abundant light. And what that did for me is slowed my breathing down and turned my focus to basically scanning my body part by part and feeling it get filled with this light and lightness. And there was more air in the chest cavity. And that felt really good. Expansive. This is the opposite of where I was, like feeling very boxed in. So doing those three things at the same time made it. And to Michelle's point, cost nothing.
You mean you didn't have to have money to pay somebody to make all those decisions for you?
I didn't. I made them and they were good decisions. Can be outsourced. Listen, I love money.
Hmm.
Don't get me wrong. Wonderful tool.
One tool in the box, though. Uh, just one tool in the box. We have so many other tools at our disposal that we forget about. And at the end of the day, it's all about being resourceful.
Creative with your resources, right?
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think challenging yourself, well, I'm getting into maybe a different layer of it, but like challenging yourself to explore new ones because eventually the old ones, like they don't always work. So you have to have more than one option.
Well, it's have the right tool for the right job too.
Right.
Yeah. That's
Most
what I
people think in the terms of like money equals hammer and every problem's a nail, so I'm just gonna go hammer
Yeah.
everything.
money can solve a chunk of problems, certainly.
Oh, certainly. Yes.
And then there's a reason why people who have abundant money still struggle
Hmm.
a lot. So clearly,
And I think when we started talking about the money thing, the point was just that, like, sure, it might be easier if you have a lot of money to find resources, but if you don't, you can still find resources. I mean, to blanketly say, you know, I can't do what I can't remember her name, Sandra,
Mhm.
you know, I can't do what she does, so therefore I can't do it at all. It's like, well, no, you just do it
Oh,
in a different way. You do it in your way with your resources that are available to you.
that's that's it, right? It's um yeah.
I
Yeah,
also think we get
Cheryl.
attached to like we love the idea of like, oh, that would be such an amazing way to do it if I could only do it that way. And then we get so attached to that vision that we can't even think of anything else for ourselves, which just keeps us stuck. So it's like, so how do you get unstuck? Creativity, inquiry, play,
Mhm.
observation, mindfulness, awareness.
You're reminding me of a friend who used to say, must be nice to be you.
Mm.
It just
What a
used
lovely concept.
to
What a great
irritate
thing to
me.
hear
Just
in such a
really
condescending way.
yeah, like I would share like something that I figured my way out through, and the answer would be, must be nice to be you.
Mhm. Mhm.
You could also be you, and that can also be a really good thing. Yeah.
I usually want to tell those people that say something like that. Yeah, you want to come take some of the experiences that I've been through? I fucking dare you.
You don't want this. You don't want what I've got in my backpack. Like, leave it in my backpack. Let's not spread it.
Dan and I were just talking about this like 3 days ago, maybe. I don't even remember what he was saying, but it led us to a conversation similar to this one, where it was like, when you tell a friend, oh, I know what we were talking about. I'm not going to go into detail, it doesn't matter. But when you encounter someone where like you just did this amazing thing and you're excited to share it with them, and instead of being joyful with you, they like either shift it to themselves or they go, oh, I wish I could do that. It's like, I need different people in my life. It's
Mhm.
not you. Because
Yeah.
if you can't be joyful for something that I just shared with you, that I was super like my vibration was up here and then you just dumped me down to here because I let you because you took it to a place. I was like, I want people who can be joyful for other people's joy versus feel like a victim because they don't have it.
Mhm.
That's beautiful. And
Yeah.
that's power of the community that we're talking about.
Exactly.
They say that whether we are the sum of the 5 people we most frequently interact with.
Mhm.
So lifting your vibration, yes, it's a lot of internal work, and changing your community and your environment.
Yeah.
You have the power to change people you are with, and that can change everything in your life. It's so powerful. It took me a long time to really internalize that and to appreciate how powerful community is. It's tremendous, really. It really can get you unstuck.
Well, and to circle it back to where I came in when you guys were talking about the kids, it's the
Mhm.
same thing. How dare those kids have fun? Oh, they're having fun and I'm not. Oh, it's like the kids are at high vibe and they're mad about it because they don't have
Right.
it too.
Yeah. It's like, do you want to come out for a 10-minute break and climb a
Yeah,
slide?
you want to come
That's
play on the
cool.
playground?
Like,
And the first thing they're going to think is, oh, well, I don't want to hurt myself.
Right.
Or, yeah,
I mean, side note, chances are you might. That's cool. It might be worth it.
shit. You could put me on any piece of playground equipment you can imagine. I ain't going to break. You know
No,
why? Because I
why?
practice these things. I never stop doing them.
You are in the minority. Is not what most grown-ups do. And I commend you for doing not what most grown-ups do.
Well, the reason I do that is because one day I was trying to play on the ground with my kids and I couldn't move around and it was causing me pain. I was like, this is not fucking cool. Because what if
Mhm.
I'm still in this place whenever I start to have grandkids and I can't get on the ground and play with grandkids? That
Yeah.
would destroy me. So now all of a sudden, like, okay, I value getting on the ground and rolling around and throwing them around and being it's like I'm literally have been considered the human playground before. And if I couldn't do that, it would hurt me internally. So guess what? I'm going to go my ass to the gym and we're going to work on these things because I'm going to make sure that gets to stay in my life.
I commend you for doing something about it, not just recognizing it.
Hmm. And you can too.
Must be nice to be you.
Just need to put that in a loop.
Must
Well,
be nice.
yeah. I noticed that I was losing that ability because I wasn't doing it. I went, oh,
Yes.
not cool. So I started doing it.
Yes.
And So that brings me to the like the 4% rule. And it's like, oh, I can't get on the ground and roll around like I used to. So let me just start off by doing ninja practice.
Right.
Well, no, you start off by doing air squats or burpees or sit-ups or something. You got to work up to ninja practice. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, buddy. We are all over the place today.
We really are.
I like it.
Yeah, it's been fun though, because we talked about a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Life
think
can
the
be a lot.
most important thing for me from this conversation has been like remembering whenever it is that joy aggravates me, uh and going, oof, I'm off kilter. Because when the play goes away, life sucks. How do we play more often as adults?
I'm a playful human, so that's a hard question for me to answer. I
Have you
can't
always
imagine life.
have you always been able to keep it, or did you have a point in your life where you lost it for a little while?
I mean, I definitely have pockets in my life where I get in a want moi, but for the
Mhm.
most part, I'm just a I play is such an important part of my being that and
So
play
that
might look different, but
moi moi, is that the technical term for it?
moi moi.
I was tempted to make that sound earlier
It's
too.
because words don't work for that. It's really just it is just a moi moi.
Yeah, it's like,
Because it's not depression, it's not anxiety, it's not it's like it's not any one thing. It could be several things, and it's just
yeah,
there.
You're making me think of Eeyore.
Yes. Oh,
yeah,
it's a beautiful day.
right? It's like air coming out of your tires.
Yeah.
I love that you did the ED finger.
Right? Just a little bit. Let's just keep going with things that can, make men uncomfortable.
The teeniest, tiniest bit. Yeah, it does feel like a want want. That is a sound that came to my head too. Like,
So if we start a drug company and we have a pill similar to Viagra, we're going to call it the anti-want-wans.
oh, is it like the antidepressant?
There'll be the bzzz.
Woo!
How about the boing?
Yeah, that might work too. My sister's dog used to do that with those damn door things. He would
That is
just sit and flick them.
awesome. That
So
is awesome. That is awesome.
It would be kind of amazing if like a product just had like a QR code that led to a sound. What is this called? It's the
It's like we don't need to name it.
I love
yeah,
that instead of describing being playful, we just went into being playful.
100%, which is what I mean. It's like even when I'm in want moi, there's part of me that will always be playful with it.
Yes.
I don't know.
And that's beautiful. If you can laugh at yourself, you can laugh at your circumstances, you're already not sitting in it wallowing.
I
You're
remember
already
Kat
getting
saying that to
out.
me one time in a summit because I had made some joke during a dark thing. And she goes, that's a really healthy coping mechanism that you've created is your humor. She's like, because you use it in a really like actual healthy way. It's not like you're using it to avoid or cover up. It literally is like it takes you somewhere and it's a good thing. I'm like, yeah, and it can get pretty dark and twisted too. But she's like, I know, but that's part of the greatness of it. It's like if you can use humor in your life. I don't know, makes it easier to be creative and playful.
Mhm, mhm,
I
mhm.
have noticed that some of the funniest people I've ever met, once you get to know them, it's a mask for how
Mhm.
miserable they actually are.
Yeah.
It's just a way to cover it up so they can avoid it and just pretend. And I'm not going to let everybody see I'm actually hurting on the inside.
And I feel that used to be true for me. Like there was a chunk of time in my life where that was exactly what my humor was.
Yeah.
But it's evolved over time and it's not that
Yeah.
way anymore.
I think just like anything else in life, all of the tools that we've been talking about can be misused.
Indeed.
Every single one of them. We can, yeah, oversubscribe or misuse. And then we're
I have
in,
a client right now that's like struggling with the concept of napping because she's like fighting with like, do I actually need the rest and the pause and the gap? Or am I just avoiding my bullshit? And I can't tell. And I was just like, okay, let's play. Let's play with that. But it's true, it can be complicated. Sometimes we don't know. Are we avoiding or do we really need to pause? Or
right.
maybe
Mhm.
sometimes it's
Nap,
both.
even with napping, like, do you need to feel refreshed or are you depressed?
Right.
Wah, wah.
Yeah. Well, I think when we're
I'm
in it,
I'm
sometimes it's hard not to overthink it.
yeah, I'm gonna lean in on the side of lesser margin of error. I'm just gonna take the damn nap. If I can, which for me is very, very difficult to do. My life would be better if I could sleep on demand.
I am so, I'm envious of people who can do that.
Hmm.
I honestly, I don't feel envy for many things. That's one where people can make a decision to sleep and I've
Hmm.
seen it happen.
Hmm.
Like, and it's like a magic trick. It's
Yeah.
like a rabbit out of a hat. Like close their eyes, they make a decision, they lie down, close their eyes, and get ready, and then they're out. Like, teach me.
I can't take my brother on a car trip anywhere.
And so
He
pass out.
10, 15 minutes down the road, he's got his head up
I was
against the window and he's out.
I
Done.
was conditioned to sleep in a car. Makes the long road trips by yourself a little tricky.
Hmm.
I will stay awake though if someone else is driving. I won't go to sleep, but like I literally was conditioned to sleep in a car from the time I was 11 years old until forever.
Hmm.
We went up north every single weekend, and my parents had a Suburban, and my sister would take the second seat, and I would take the third seat, and we would just listen to music and go to sleep.
Hmm.
Like the sound of the car is like one of those comfort hugs for me.
Well, we don't.
That explains why I don't sleep in cars because I'm used to like subways and you don't fall asleep on the subway.
Yeah.
You can help it. It's like, that's a don't.
That sounds like
Fall
yeah,
asleep
you
with your mouth open, people throwing shit in it.
mm, my bachelor party, we found something called atomic cherries. These are cherries that were uh soaked in Everclear. And whenever you take a bite of one of these cherries, you would immediately go, oh, because it was that strong. And so we're coming back to the hotel, and there's this homeless woman passed up. We're in New Orleans, and she's got her head up against the wall, and her mouth is wide open. So we shot basketball, and my brother managed to make the shot.
Um,
That poor lady. I think she slept better after, though.
If you're asleep to the point where people can play basketball with atomic cherries, I think you're sleeping pretty okay. I
on the
oh,
think
sh-
you needed
on
to
the street
sleep better.
on the street of New Orleans, just in the middle of I want to say it was probably Bourbon Street or right off of Bourbon Street, just up against the wall. She looked like she needed breakfast, is what it was. We were being helpful.
Sure.
it sounded like you were being helpful.
She needed fruit.
Okay. You tell yourself whatever makes you feel better.
Oh, oh boy.
Some of us had to learn compassion, okay?
I think most of us have to learn compassion. I think we're born with it, maybe, and then life happens and we lose it for a hot second or longer, and then we come back to it when we
Mhm.
have enough life at us that we realize that the other way is not working.
Hmm. Yeah, there's definitely a point where you go, hey, these defense mechanisms I keep so dear and tight to me are actually hurting me.
And others.
I
And yes, there it is.
oh,
That's a great point. 'Cause there's zero doubt in my mind I wouldn't be where I'm at right now having these conversations with y'all if I did not get married and have 3 daughters. That right there made it very, very important for me to get in touch with the emotional side, to be emotionally literate and emotionally intelligent, because I started to notice that I wasn't able to have those conversations with the people I cared about most. And it's like, oh, I've got something to learn here if I want to be a better person for them.
Mhm.
And I'll be damned if my life didn't get a whole lot better after becoming more emotionally intelligent.
What's amazing to me is that the learning doesn't stop ever.
Mm-mm.
Thank God.
Wanted to. It'd be boring if it did. Really boring. I like that it keeps going. But it's incredible. Like the lessons that think you learn, you think you now get something else, and then you take it to the next level, or you come back to the level where you were. Now learning it from a different angle.
Mhm.
The journey. Did you hear that? Life is a journey.
Say it in Russian and
Yeah,
Ukrainian.
but
I want to hear this in all the languages we know.
It was only the smear. It was only the smear. How do we say it in French?
yeah.
Wait.
Well, life's a journey, but happiness is a destination, right?
I don't even like that word.
La vie est
Destination.
un voyage.
Destination. What? Say it again.
La vie est un voyage. Life
Mm.
is a journey. It is.
I'm pretty sure you butchered that pronunciation like really bad.
I may have. I studied it for 5 years. I
No?
still may have messed it up. I may have. I am
Hmm.
going to practice a little bit of my French this weekend.
Are you
Oh,
going somewhere?
For the first time in a long time, I am whisking a child away to go to Montreal.
oh,
Montreal
neat.
in Quebec,
Oh,
in Canada. Mhm.
Or as Dan calls it, America North.
I don't know if they like
Canadia.
Canadia. I think I said something like that the first time I was in Canada. I said something a little too loud along the lines of, isn't it just like America's backyard? Right? It's just like an extension of America. Just the less cool part. Like I said it in a restaurant before the food was served. Just not prudent.
Did they
See,
kick you out?
Jim Carrey came from Canadia, so I'm okay with it.
That's it. Look, I know somebody who's from there, and they're good. So that's it. I'm sold.
I
Sold.
find I really enjoy my conversations with Canadians quite a bit.
Yeah.
Um, we have a one gentleman in particular in our men's group, and he is not afraid to push the boundaries of expectations, and he says things that most people wouldn't say, and I love it. For instance, when we had a discussion about monogamy, he was like, "Yeah, you ever thought about why you're monogamous? It's because um, you were told you needed to be. Have you ever actually put any thought into it?" And it opened up just a discussion to where, yes, I'm going to allow myself to explore what is so important about it. And at the end of that discussion, I had more resolve to be monogamous
Mm.
than I had previously because I actually allowed myself to explore why is it so important.
Mhm. That makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
Now you're doing it for your own reasons more
Yes.
so, and you have
Yes.
awareness about why it connects for you more. I know someone, I have a very good friend who became more religious because I was asking so many questions and poking.
Hmm.
Like, well, why does this and how did this connect? And if you say this, and why do you go and do that? And what's the meaning of lots and lots of questions? And in the end, the impact that it had on him was becoming more connected to his faith, not less. And my intention was just curiosity. It's like, what's that about? Why do that? What's that about? Curiosity.
Isn't that fun? How many people on the planet Earth have chosen their religion because they grew up in a place where everybody around them said, "Hey, this is the religion you need to practice," and they went, "Okay."
Yeah.
I was that human for a very long time.
Mhm. These other religions, they're all wrong. Why?
Yep.
Because I said so.
But
Really? No.
I think it was a neighbor asked me once. So you really think that like heaven is filled only with your denomination? Because that was kind of the story I'd been preached my whole life. And I was like, wait, what? And she asked again, and I was like, huh. And I think that was like the first real question that got my wheels spinning, where I was like, that makes zero sense to me. Like, that cannot possibly be how this works.
Say it again for me.
She was like, do you really think that the only people in heaven are the people from your specific Christian denomination, and all the other, even same Christian denominations are wrong, and it's only yours that are up there? And I was like, oh, that was like one of the best questions anybody ever asked me, because it got my wheels turning, and it totally just started me asking more questions of myself of like, what do I really think and believe and feel? What feels true to me? And it certainly is not that that heaven is filled only with, you know, assuming there's a heaven even, right? Like start there. But like it just got my wheels turning on like, how can it possibly be only the people that believe this very exact, precise thing that allows for entrance? It just didn't make sense to me. And I had never considered that before. I never even considered that that was what I was being taught. But that one question just got me curious.
so that curiosity killed a cat, but no, no. That doesn't, no,
I mean,
no,
not they got 9 lives, so they got lots of chances.
that's right. And most of the time it's good for the cat. Damn it. Curious cat.
Hmm.
Should we say cat a few more times?
That's all I ever think about. So,
Oh, I am picking up what you are putting down, Mr. Smart.
that's right. Oh,
I like the way we've been swerving.
yeah.
I like this conversation. Maybe because I like you people.
Yeah.
That could be
This is
part of it.
fun.
All right. So, concluding, what do we want to wrap up with? Like, what do you want to leave everybody with before we hit the button that says off?
I'm in consider your resources mode right now. But resources can be something as simple as creativity. Go from want to whoop.
Mhm.
That sticks out to me quite a bit. The listing of resources that we did here that most of us have access to that don't cost anything. I think about joy, and that when we feel overwhelmed or irritated by others, to take a look at ourselves and get curious about, what is that telling me? What is it pointing me to about myself? It's a great reminder. Yeah.
Thinking about how many things I was told to accept growing up that ended up not being true. And certainly not true for me, but um, work hard and all is coming, or uh, just being an adult, how important it is and how very severe it is to be an adult. Whenever come to find out, if you do it right, it's a fucking ass ton of fun. Um,
I think the other thing I don't want to leave left unsaid is community. And I'm really grateful for even just the three of us is a community, and it's a beautiful one. And I appreciate it. Aw.
Heart emoji. I feel the same way.
Yeah. You don't know if you turn a heart upside down, it actually is what a woman looks like, doggy style.
I think that's what you're going to leave everyone with. Trying upside down hearts.
So, it's a very feminine concept, the heart, but I know where it started. Because a real heart doesn't actually look like that at all.
No, it looks more like.
But an ass?
I'm just seeing QR codes with sound effects, so this is going nowhere good, but really fun. Can we just have like a soundbite like series? Just like just QR codes with sounds and a product description.
We need a visual too. I think like a visual low tech, like, you know.
And these are the thoughts I keep in my brain. Oh, I'm glad they're getting out too, because the world needs to know these things.
It does. The world is made better by knowing and hearing these things. That's true.
Yeehaw.
The audio and the visual. It's fun.
Thank you for listening to That's a Great Point with Alina Doran, Michelle Aalbers, and Lee Smart. To find out more about how we can serve you, check out our links in the show description. Thanks for playing along.